what's going down, APUSH peeps? We have a very important video for you today. This topic, the People's or the Populist Party, is specifically mentioned in the new curriculum. It has its own little section, so you need to be especially familiar with this topic. But don't worry, we have you covered. All right, let's take a look at the new curriculum. Key Concept 6.1, Roman numeral 3, letter C states, economic instability inspired agrarian activists to create the People's or Populist Party, which called for a stronger governmental role in regulating the American economic system. Again, since it's mentioned, anything about the party is fair game for the test. And you should know that there really is a focus on it being an agrarian movement and other groups, as we'll see, and advocating or favoring for government intervention. So a populist is somebody who would favor increased government intervention. All right, so what is the Populist Party? Well, it's a political party from the late 19th century made up of mostly farmers. They sought increased government involvement in the economy to control things like railroads, banks, and government reform. They especially wanted the government to own railroads. They were very critical of the economic system, which is capitalism, and critical of laissez-faire as well. And it originated in Cincinnati in May of 1891. You could trace the origins to this beautiful city right here. Look at that skyline. Is that not amazing or what? All right, so what groups of people support the Populist Party? Well, as we mentioned before, it's farmers. It's predominantly an agrarian movement. Groups like the Grange, which were groups that sought to connect farmers and share techniques, and also they hoped to elect state legislatures that supported their programs. You also have like Farmers Alliances, this group that consisted of mainly local organizations. They established stores and banks to help farmers out. You also see some industrial workers, specifically the Knights of Labor, that union of skilled and unskilled workers. They would support the Populist Party. And don't forget that the leader of the Knights of Labor is this dude with perhaps the most luscious mustache in U.S. history, Terrence Powderly. And also people who were in favor of economic reform would support the Populist Party as well. Okay, so what led to the creation of the Populist Party? Well, economic issues such as the growth of corporate power. We have railroads that are able to charge high shipping rates that hurt farmers. So farmers are going to react to the high shipping rates and want to restrict this growth of corporate power. Railroads often owned grain elevators as well, and these were storage units often based on rivers or lakes where farmers could store their goods, and they would charge high rates to farmers in order to store their goods. We have two panics, the Panic of 1873 and the Panic of 1893. These significantly hurt farmers as crop prices plummeted. And the Populist Party also emerged from previous agrarian groups, as we talked about, the Grange and also the Farmers Alliances. And here's a political cartoon that really kind of mocks the Populist Party. You'll see down here it says Platform of Lunacy. And you have people like Terrence Powderly right here. And then you have the People's Party. And this hot air balloon is made up of a bunch of patches of different groups. You have the Farmers Alliance, the Greenback Party, the Knights of Labor, the Old Granger Party, Socialist, Free Silver Party, which we'll talk about in just a couple minutes. So basically, it's this collection of a wide range of people. So this artist here is very critical of the Populist Party. So be familiar. Again, anytime you see a political cartoon or document, think about what is the message of this and what is the author's point of view. And his point of view here is very critical of the Populist Party. Okay, so what were the goals of the Populists? Again, they sought economic relief as well as government intervention. I've mentioned that several times so far. We have the Omaha platform, which really advocated their 1892 presidential platform. And this was written by this dude, Ignatius Donnelly, perhaps the sweetest name in U.S. history, Ignatius. The Omaha platform called for the direct election of senators instead of state legislatures. They also called for a graduated income tax, meaning the more money you make, the more you pay in taxes. The Australian or secret ballot, and government control of railroads, telegraphs, and telephones. Again, you see here, increased government involvement is a goal of the Populist Party. And they also favored the free coinage of silver at a ratio of 16-1 with gold. That is called bimetallism. Be sure you can identify bimetallism. What this means is, for every 1 ounce of gold that was used to back up the dollar, the Populists wanted 16 ounces of silver to count as well. And that would inflate the currency, making it easier for them to pay off their debts. And again, 16 ounces of silver would equal 1 ounce of gold. This would increase the money supply, which would give farmers more money, which would make it easier for them to pay off their debts. But this would be resisted by bankers and lenders because their money would be worth less. They also called for civil service reform and an 8-hour workday. But definitely be familiar with this Omaha platform here, these 5 things, because we'll see some of them come to fruition at a later time. All right, let's talk about the election of 1892. We have Grover Cleveland, he is a Democrat, versus Benjamin Harrison, a Republican, and also James Weaver, a populist. And here is James Weaver, and he campaigned on that Omaha platform we just talked about. Now, if you look at James Weaver, he looks like pretty much every other politician from the late 1800s. Here is James Garfield. They look identical. And there is Rutherford B. Hayes, the former president. Look at them. They all could be the exact same dude. I feel like we're going to play a game later, identify who is this person. And Weaver received 22 electoral votes and 8.5% of the popular vote. So he did have a little bit of a showing, but did not become president. Flash forward 4 years with William Jennings Bryan, who runs as a Democrat and gets the support of the Populists, and he's going up against William McKinley, who is a Republican. And the Populist Party supported Bryan due to his support for free silver, that introduction of silver at a 16-to-1 ratio with gold. William Jennings Bryan gives this very famous speech called a Cross of Gold speech. Be able to identify this. This is screaming to me an excerpt to be used in a multiple choice or a short answer question. So here he is at the Democratic nomination in 1896. In the end of this speech, he says, "You shall not press down upon the brow of labor this crown of thorns. You shall not crucify mankind upon a cross of gold." So he was calling for the introduction of silver. Again, we have an excerpt, so think about who would support it, who would not support it. You would have farmers who would support it. I could see a multiple choice question that says something to the effect of all the following would agree with William Jennings Bryan's message, except, and you would have like Midwestern farmers would agree, sharecroppers would agree, etc. But then you could see like an industrialist or a banker or something. They would not agree with it because it would devalue their money. So be able to identify the cross of gold speech. Okay, so what was the impact of the Populists? Well, many of the ideas and goals of the Populist Party later came to fruition, as I mentioned earlier. The income tax that they called for, that's seen in the early 1900s with the 16th Amendment, as is the direct election of senators with the 17th Amendment, and secret ballots as well come into play in the early 1900s. And this is all during the Progressive Era, which is a part of Teddy Roosevelt's presidency. This is a great connection to another time period. So even though the Populist Party itself doesn't implement these ideas, their ideas will later be implemented. All right, let's finish up with some test tips for multiple choice and short answer. Be able to identify and explain the reasons for the development of the Populist Party. The populist ideas are most similar to, that could be a great question as well, another time period in U.S. history. No, it's the Progressive Era. Who would support the Populist Party? Again, farmers, and who would oppose it? Industrialists, bankers, etc. Definitely know the Cross of Gold speech that we just talked about. And for essays, you could see an essay comparing farmers and industrial workers, their responses to industrialization. So how did farmers respond? How did industrial workers respond? How were they similar and how were they different? All right, guys, I thank you very much for watching. I wish you nothing but the best of luck in May. And let me know, who do you think this dude is here? He looks like every other politician from the late 19th century. But take a guess, leave it in the comments below, and we'll see if anybody gets it right. Thank you very much, and have a good day.